Hello, it's Mrs. Crimmins, and we are reading The Introduction to the Holocaust, and this is by the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. Introduction. The Holocaust was the systematic state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime and its allies and collaborators. Holocaust is a word of Greek origin meaning sacrifice by fire. The Nazis who came to power in Germany in January of 1933 believed that Germans were racially superior, that means better, than that of the Jews, who were deemed inferior, were an alien threat to the so-called German racial community. During the era of the Holocaust, German authorities also targeted other groups because of their perceived racial and biological inferiority. So these are all the groups that the Germans thought were less than them, like worse. Roman gypsies, people with disabilities, some of the Slavic people, Poles, Russians, and others, Soviet prisoners of war, and blacks. Other groups were persecuted on political, ideological, and behavioral grounds, among them communists, socialists, Jehovah's Witnesses, and homosexuals. What was the Holocaust? So here's a photograph of David Samusel, a close-up of him taken in Poland between 1936 and 1938. He was killed in Treblinka killing center at the age of 9. So we're going to talk about what these killing centers are. In 1933, the Jewish population of Europe stood over 9 million. Most of European Jews lived in countries that Nazi Germany would occupy or influence during World War II. By the end of the war in 1945, the Germans and their allies and collaborators killed nearly 2 out of every 3 European Jew as part of the final solution. The Nazis considered Jewish to be an inferior race and posed the deadliest menace to the German folk. Soon after they came to power, the Nazis adopted measures to exclude Jews from German economic, social, and cultural life, and to pressure them to emigrate. World War II provided Nazi officials with the opportunity to pursue a comprehensive final solution to the Jewish question: the murder of all the Jews in Europe. While Jews were the priority target of Nazi racism, other groups within Germany were persecuted for racial reasons, including Roma, commonly called gypsies, Afro-Germans, and people with mental or physical disabilities. By the end of the war, the German and their Axis partners murdered up to 250,000 Roma, and between 1939 and 1945, they murdered at least 250,000 mentally or physically disabled patients, mainly German and living in institutions called the euthanasia program. As German tyranny spread across Europe, the German and the collaborators persecuted and murdered millions of other people seen as biologically inferior or dangerous. Between 2 and 3 million Soviet prisoners of war, viewed by the Nazis as the biological carriers of Bolshevism, were murdered or died of starvation, disease, neglect, or brutal treatment. The Germans shot tens of thousands of non-Jewish members of the Polish intelligentsia, murdered the inhabitants of hundreds of villages in pacification raids in Poland and the Soviet Union, and deported millions of Polish and Soviet civilians to perform forced labor under conditions that caused many to die. From the earliest years of the Nazi regime, German authorities persecuted homosexuals and other Germans whose behavior did not conform to the prescribed social norms, such as beggars, alcoholics, and prostitutes, incarcerating thousands of them in prisons and concentration camps. German police officials simply persecuted thousands of Germans viewed as political opponents, including communists, socialists, Freemasons, and trade unionists, and the religious dissidents such as Jehovah's Witnesses. Many of these individuals died as a result of maltreatment and murder. Implementation of the final solution. World War II provided Nazi officials the opportunity to adopt more radical measures against the Jews under the pretext that they posed a threat to Germany. After occupying Poland, German authorities confined the Jewish population to ghettos, to which they later deported thousands of Jews from the Third Reich. Hundreds of thousands of Jews died from the horrendous conditions in the ghettos in Poland and other parts of Eastern Europe. So here, this is a picture of the deportation. That means they took all of these Jewish people out of their homes, put them on trains, and sent them to killing camps or concentration camps. And here is a Nazi or German officer. And this is in Lubin, 1942. Following the invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941, Einsatzgruppen and Waffen-SS units, which, with support from the Wehrmacht, moved beyond German lines to murder Jews, Roma, and Soviet state and Communist Party officials in mass shootings, as well as in specially equipped gas vans. Mass shootings of Jews continued throughout the war, many conducted by militarized battalions of the German Order Police. These shooting operations are estimated to have claimed the lives of more than 1.5 million Jews. In late 1941, Nazis officials adopted the employ an additional method to kill Jews, one originally developed from the euthanasia program: stationary gas chambers. Between 1941 and 1944, Nazi Germany and its allies deported nearly 3 million Jews from under their control to Nazi-occupied Poland. The vast majority were sent to killing centers, often called extermination camps, at Belzec, Chelmno, Sobibor, Treblinka, and Auschwitz-Birkenau, where they were murdered primarily by means of poison gas. Some able-bodied Jewish deportees were temporarily spared to perform labor in ghettos, forced labor camps for Jews, or concentration camps in Nazi-occupied Poland and or the Soviet Union. Most of these workers died from starvation and disease or were killed when they became too weak. I'm going to stop there. I'll let you read the rest of this on your own.